Hey there again, everyone. It's Mr. Myasis here with you, and we're looking at how do you describe a distribution of quantitative data. So let me go and give you an example. And I want to just tell you that I'm going to give you one example, but I'm going to try to explain what happens if you switch things up a little bit, okay? So here we go. Let's get to it. Let's suppose I have this same question. If you were watching some other videos, you've seen it before. How many hours of studying or homework do you do per week? Let's suppose I add in some crazy person that has 55 hours. They do 55 hours of studying homework. That's kind of crazy, but let's suppose that they do that. Okay, and I'm only going to look at these, the male data here, okay? Because I just want to show you how to do this. So what I am going to do is I'm going to go to I'm going to go to GeoGebra here. Where's GeoGebra? Come on, GeoGebra. Where are you? All right, so I'm going to go to GeoGebra and I'm going to create a histogram. I am also going to need, I don't know if my picture is in the way here. We'll find out. We'll see if it's in the way. I'm also going to want to know the statistics. All right. Oh man, there's my air conditioner. All right, what did I do? It's to turn off the air conditioner now that I'm back. I changed my histogram here so it has a relative. Okay, so these are relative frequencies. So now you notice here it's at 0.7. I took a little snip. All right, I took a little snip, and what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to Control C it, and I'm going to put it in a Word document here. Okay, so that I have the picture, and don't mind this little I don't know, whatever that little X thing is there. That's just because all right. Okay, and then what I'm going to do here is I am going to label this, okay? So I'm going to label this side relative frequency, and I'm going to label the bottom, what was it, hours of homework or study. All right, I labeled them with a couple of text. I just made a couple of text boxes here. All right, so I made a couple of text boxes. They're ready to go. And now I'm going to describe these data. So, oops. I'm going to give myself some room to do that. Let me bring this text box back up here. Come on. And if you want, if you really want to do some edits here, you can make it so that there's no, no boundaries. Oops. No borders at all. It still didn't do that. Anyway, you can, okay, so like this, you do your shape and things, but really we just want to make sure it's context, everything's labeled. Okay, I made it look a little prettier. Okay, so here we go. How do we describe these data? I already went over in a video all those things that you need to do, and describe your shape, describe your center, describe your spread. So I went over all of those things because that's what we're going to need to do to apply to this. So here's what I got for you, all right? Here is a way to do this and to remember how to do it. So there are four things we need to do. And, acronym, cuss. Don't actually, go off and start saying all kinds of mean, bad things. What I mean by that is an acronym of cuss. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to do your C, which is look for your center. So you need to describe the general center of the data either using a mean or a median. Now, it depends on which one you're going to use based on your shape, which we'll get to in just a second. So the U stands for unusual features. So are there any outliers or gaps? That's what you're looking for in unusual features. S is shape. So depending on if your shape is symmetric or skewed. Now, if you have anything that's not unimodal, then you would mention that. But if things are unimodal, you can say just unimodal and symmetric or unimodal and skewed. But really weird things are like if it's bimodal. So you're going to talk about whether it's symmetric or skewed, and then you want to have your spread as well, and that's the variability we talked about in the previous video, the range, the IQR, or the standard deviation. Get this, guys. Ready? This is important. When your shape is symmetric, you're going to use your mean and your standard deviation. That's it. You don't do all of them. You just do mean for your center, standard deviation for your spread if your shape is symmetric. If your shape is skewed, then you're going to use your median and your IQR, or your range, but really you want to use your IQR, okay? But we're going to need to calculate the statistics for that, all right? Okay, so let's go and do that work, shall we? We shall. Why? Because I'm the one that's showing you how to do it. So in my GeoGebra spreadsheet, I am going to find the statistics because I'm going to need those guys. Okay, come on, GeoGebra, give me stats. Here we go. So here's our stats. I'm going to take a little snip of that and put it in my document just so I can see it really easily. I don't want to keep, I don't want to sit here looking for this the whole time. Okay. That's way too big. I'm just going to shrink that guy down there. All right. Now, guys, you don't have to put this in your document, okay? I am only doing this right now because I want to be able to see my statistics when I write down my description. All right? Okay, so here's how we write our description. Remember, we're looking for CUS, center, unusual features, spread, and shape. So what I like to do is I usually like to start off with the shape because the shape tells me where I'm supposed to go with the center and the standard deviation. So I'm going to do, hopefully you can see this. Do you want me to zoom in a little bit? You can always zoom in, I'm sure, but I'll zoom in so you can see my words. Okay, use your words, Abel, use your words. The distribution of, what are we talking about? We are talking about the distribution of hours of study / homework per week of male students in the sample. All right, there's our context. So we got to make sure we put context. Okay, what's the shape of this guy? This one looks like, well, it goes up and then it curves down this way. Up, it curves down that way. That is, the tail is on the right, so that is skewed to the right. Is skewed right. Why don't we say is unimodal and skewed right? All right, okay, we can pretty much see it's unimodal and skewed right. Okay, so now that I know that the data are skewed, I'm going to use the median and the IQR. So I'm going to say the median hours of study in the sample was, I'm going to look over at my 9 hours with an interquartile range of, okay, let me calculate this really quickly. It's 16.5 minus 5, which I believe is 11.5. 15 is 10, 11.5. We're at the range of 11.5 hours. Okay, so all I did was subtract the Q1 and the Q3. If you don't know what I did, I subtracted Q1, okay, to find the IQR. I did, come on, pen. I did Q1 and Q3, and I subtracted these two guys, all right? Okay, so the next thing I want to do, since I did, what do I got here? I did center, which was my median. Median center, interquartile range is my spread. I have my shape. All I need now is any unusual features. Well, there are two. There's a gap here and an outlier there. In fact, if I double check to make sure this is an outlier, let me double check this. Let me make this into a box plot. And sure enough, you see this little X there? That means that this number is an outlier, 55. Okay. And I could have done that using the fences rule if I wanted to. So I'm going to say there is a gap between, what were the values here? Let's go back and check the values. 24 and 55. Between 24 hours and 55 hours, which is an outlier. Okay, so I'm saying 55 is an outlier. So I talked about the gap, I talked about the outlier, I talked about the spread, and I talked about the median, and I talked about the shape. So this is an example of a skewed distribution. If this were symmetric, then I would do the same thing, only instead of median hours, I would have said mean hours, and I would have used the average, the mean. And then I would have said with a standard deviation, and I would have used 12.7 as my standard deviation because it's symmetric. So once again, symmetric, mean, and standard deviation, skewed, median, IQR. But you're going to write it in this way, all right? Real straightforward. One different thing before I let you go, before you just leave and stop listening to me. If you're comparing two distributions, just make sure you say ER, like the median was higher for females as it was for males. Anywhere you have, just make sure you're using a comparison word, okay? All right, that's all I have for you today, guys. Describing a distribution of quantitative data. We'll catch you later.